It is very important that we try to incorporate divine love characteristics in our human relationships. What do I mean by that? Well, once you start chanting, for instance, Hanuman Chalisa or Aditya Strotam, Narayan Kavach, or any of those mantra strotas, there is a feeling of connection. It starts with mindless chanting of Sanskrit words or Avdhi words in case of Hanuman Chalisa, but it gradually morphs into a very subtle connection and a sense of longing that comes with it. If you don't chant the strota or the mantra for a couple of days, you feel like something is missing in your life. Just like you get habituated to eating, you get habituated to chanting. So I always think about chanting as a relentless practice, regardless of the state of mind and feelings that you are surrounding yourself in. If you feel good, you should be chanting the mantras. If you feel horrible, painful, dejected, annoyed, angry, upset, you should be chanting the mantras. If you don't feel anything, you should be chanting the mantra. So mantra chanting, or in my case, Hanuman Chalisa and Aditya Strotam, I chant these regardless of the way I feel inside. Because the first step towards spiritual growth is to be in a state of happiness, or as they put it, the gurus put it, in a state of bliss. Now that is the state of pure divine connection and a state of joy in which you are not really hankering and craving for anything. Na dveshati, na sochiti, na kanchati, subhashu parityagi bhaktiman same priya, as he says, Krishna. You don't have to be envious, you don't have to be hankering, craving. If you are free of these desires, then you are in a state of happiness and fulfilled with yourself. And that is what you are craving, if you will, in chanting of a mantra or Hanuman Chalisa. And if you can build that kind of craving or that kind of connection with your wife, your siblings, your parents, kids, then you have attained a level of perfection, which is really what we should all strive for. It is very important to distinguish the characteristic of this connection and love versus the human interaction or the love between a man and a woman, a boyfriend and a girlfriend. There is, of course, a emotional connection, but there's also a gender-based connection because you identify with a certain body part, and your genes are blueprinted, is the blueprint towards connecting to the complementary body parts. In most cases, depending upon their gender identification and sexuality. But the kind of connection you build in a bromance is the one I'm talking about, because there you have a sort of appreciation and a need to emulate what they did. And that is what you will feel if you have a connection with one of your idols. If you are good in tennis, you probably idolize about Roger Federer. Or if you're a cricketer, you might like Sachin Tendulkar. So there's something about their flair that is magnanimous. And that is the flair we are talking about in Hanuman, in terms of the karma yoga that he does for his Lord Rama and the innocence with which he does. So innocence is something that comes to you when you are surrendering to the divine love. And this is a great characteristic as well, because in the state of innocence, your mind is not craving a lot of things, and you are at ease and peace with yourself. So, to sum up, my friends, we have to attempt to build a divine love in our human relationships, and that comes from a feeling of giving and feeling of forgiving if that's needed, and not having any expectations, but accepting them for who they are, and look them in the eye, and just say very polite words. You don't have to have any hankerings or cravings or resentments for that matter that you have to just bank on day in and day out, because that is weakening your astral body and your causal body, both the sukshma sharir and the karan sharir, and the building up happens from within. So chant mantras and feel that bliss that comes from chanting it repeatedly, and then try to emulate and replicate that kind of connection in your relationships, which goes beyond the gender identification needs of the body and the rut that one gets in from the sexual high, because that one is prone to desaturation and decompensation based on the activity of the receptors and the sensual organs. But one that is unmanifest love is the unconditional, unmitigated love that is perpetual and blissful. Hope you like this video. Please feel free to leave your comments below.